Phil Knight is here. In 1962, he was a recent Stanford Business School graduate, and he had a crazy idea. He wanted to create a business importing high-quality, low-cost running shoes from Japan. 50 years later, that crazy idea is now known as Nike. It is the largest sporting goods company in the world, with annual sales topping $30 billion. It's also become one of the most recognizable brands in popular culture and sponsors some of the world's most elite athletes. Here's a look at some of Nike's most iconic ads.
I am not a role model. I'm not paid to be a role model. I am paid to wreak havoc on the basketball court.
Eggs, butter, and jam.
Jesus,
Princess Diana.
swing,
Salsa.
older,
Younger.
drama,
Comedy.
I like the Coyote. Hope he gets it.
Roadrunner.
Independent,
Republican.
boxers, briefs. I don't know.
The death of my coach.
I want to find out what your thinking was. I want to find out what your feelings are. And did you learn anything?
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed.
Phil Knight will step down as Nike's chairman in June. He tells the story of his early days building the company in a new memoir. It is called Shoe Dog. Here is part of a profile of him that was on Sunday morning.
Not far from Portland, Oregon, sprawling across some 350 manicured acres, you'll find this: a cathedral to sports and a castle, in a way, to capitalism. This is the home of the swoosh, the world headquarters of Nike. It's the largest athletic shoe and apparel company on the planet, with sales topping $30 billion last year alone. It took to the starting line over 50 years ago, the brainchild of a young track athlete named Phil "Buck" Knight. He's now 78 and one of the richest men in the world.
There are times when the sun goes down and I look out at the buildings and I get pretty choked up.
An empire is sort of a funny word, but it kind of is.
Well, we don't use that word about ourselves, but it's gotten pretty big.
I'm pleased to have Phil Knight back at this table. Welcome.
Thank you. It is great to be back. I was last here in 1994. So if I'm back again 22 years from now, I'll be exactly 100 years old, which might be an interesting interview, but I might fall asleep.
If you'll do it, I'll do it.
Okay, deal.
It's been a rather remarkable life, hasn't it?
It certainly has. It's been a wonderful journey.
How did they convince you to write a book?
Oh, actually, I finally decided myself that I'd been asked several times over the years, and I never had any interest. And I finally got to the point that I said, someone's going to write the narrative of my life. It ought to be myself, and I better do it now or it won't be done.
It's better to define yourself rather than have someone else define who you are.
That's what I figured. Yeah. Going through the process, I'm not sure it was the right conclusion, but it is what I concluded.
And why'd you call it Shoe Dog?
Shoe Dog is basically a person that's dedicated his life to shoes. It's a term that goes back over 100 years, and I just thought it kind of applied to me.
You've always had the same clothes since I've known you.
Yes, that's my uniform.
It works. It makes life easier, too.
Actually, this is a newer jacket than I wore last time, but it is the same color.
And you've got some kind of Fitbit thing on there.
I do. I have a fuel band, a Nike fuel band that keeps me active.
What do? You looked at it. It's reading now because you lifted your arm.
Yeah, well, it tells time, and it tells me how many steps I take during the course of a day, and lets me know when I meet my goals.
So Nike's more than a shoe company.
It is more than a shoe company.
What is it?
Well, it's basically, I suppose, a company that provides inspiration and innovation for every athlete in the world. That's our goal.
Now, are those ads we just saw?
Yeah.
Are they inspired by instincts from you?
From me personally?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't. I would definitely say definitely not. Although, sort of the culture of the company remains today, and it kind of grew out a little bit of the relationship between me and Bill Bowerman. We have fingerprints on that. But they really
co-founder. He was your coach.
He was my coach and co-founder. Yeah.
Right. Tell me about him.
Wonderful man that very hard to describe. Kenny Moore wrote probably the best book on him. It was 420 pages, and he did a great job, but he still didn't capture the whole man. He's very complicated. He had so many different parts of him. I always like to say that describing Bill Bowerman is like the four Indian blind men trying to describe an elephant. That he really, it was what day you caught him on is what you describe him.
But what did he mean to you?
Everything. That he was a second father, that he was basically an inspiration to me, and he was a strong disciplinarian on me until the day he died.
Here's back to the ads. Here's what's interesting to me. You had Michael Jordan talk about all the things that he didn't do. How many times he'd been entrusted with the ball for a last shot and missed. Not how many he'd scored, not how many he'd won. How many? What's the point there?
Well, the point is that you try again. And it was interesting. In the ads you ran, and you asked if I was the inspiration, which I was not. But the inspiration on two of them, the Charles Barkley ad and the Michael Jordan ad, came from them.
Really?
That was their idea. Yeah. And that's one of the things that we've always tried to do is get to know the athlete, as we've said, win their hearts as well as their feet.
Understanding athletes' heart is to understand their performance, isn't it?
Sure. That's where it comes from.
Like Tiger. Whatever the question was, you didn't know, but you knew Tiger didn't answer it.
Right.
That's Tiger.
Well, he's listening to his father, and so he's listening. He's not answering.
Speaking of Tiger, I mean, you know him, and you've been so good for him. He's been good for you. There's talk that he may come back to the U.S. Open. What do you think?
I don't know for sure, but if I was betting, I bet he does. I know he wants to play, and he's been starting to hit the ball, and I would be surprised if he didn't enter a tournament sometime in the middle of May.
Before the U.S. Open, and then play in whatever, July, whenever it is. What's your best analysis of what happened to his game?
Oh, my goodness. Do you play?
I do.
It's a terrible game.
I know it is, but, and it's a beautiful game, too.
And a beautiful game as well.
And Tiger, as Phil Mickelson said, at his best, no one even was remotely as good as he was.
That's true. The best player that ever lived, in my opinion. But golf gets away from you. Nobody ever owns it. You just lease it for a while. And he made some swing changes to try and take pressure off his body, which he was worried about. And it took a while with the swing changes to get back into the groove, and then his body began to break down. And that's, in 25 words or less, kind of what's happened.
Okay, but do you believe his body will be able to withstand the rigors?
Nobody knows. That I will say this, that he works as hard as anybody you'll ever see, and takes really good care of himself. And if anybody can do it, he can do it. And I certainly hope he does. It's really interesting that for the Masters tournament, which I saw you down there. Yeah, I saw you down there. That the ratings in the the ratings for the tournament were off about 29%, which shocked me because you've got the big four going against each other, and it would create I thought would create a lot of interest. But without
Jason
Tiger,
without Jordan Spieth,
and Rory McIlroy and Ricky Fowler, the big four. But without Tiger there, the ratings were way down. So I think
and when
it's
he
not
shows
only,
up, the ratings jump.
The ratings go back up, And if he could play again, then they'll really go up.
Now, what is that? Is it simply the charisma of performance that he once had? Is it simply that he is one of the huge celebrities in the world today?
I think all of that, but it wasn't just that he won, it was kind of the way he won.
He was
never out of it, that he could come from 7 or 8 back, or he could hit a spectacular shot when he was in the lead and somebody, creeping up the leaderboard. It was just, he had the sense of drama and spectacular in his game.
Yeah, there was this sense that at that time when he was at his best, if he was leading on Sunday, he would win on Sunday.
Right, that's right. And his father once said, if you watch Tiger Woods, he said this right after we signed him, he says, he will hit one shot during 4 rounds that you can't believe. And I thought his father might be exaggerating a little bit, but if he was, it was just a little bit.
His father had a huge impact on him.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah. And who's had a huge impact on you other than Bill?
Well, I think obviously my own father, which I talk about a little bit in the book, and then of course Bill Bowerman for sure had the big impact.
And the tragedy of your son.
Yeah, that's in there. But I think also the band of brothers, the 5 of us together. I guess you could say that had an impact.
How so?
Well, I mean, we did it together, and that's kind of what the book's about.
You knew when they talked about an entrepreneur that was you.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, here's a self-definition.
Yeah, that the first day of my entrepreneurship class at Stanford, or the professor got up and told about the characteristics of an entrepreneur versus a sort of a scientific manager, one side on the other. Among other things, they said, you know, when we have a conference of entrepreneurs, he says they break for lunch and they all go off by themselves. And I said, well, that's me.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What else would you say defines you and therefore defines your success?
Oh, I don't think. I think persistence and love for what I was doing. I was never going to give up, and I think that had a big part to do with it.
But also, I mean, there's a wonderful quote that you have, which is about. It basically is, I think, something to the effect, and you'll know it instantly in which you say, you know, we see all the possibilities if we don't know everything, but someone who's an expert sees very few possibilities.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I think so.
So when you're young and you put selling shoes out of the back of that Valiant or whatever it was.
Yeah, the Plymouth Valiant, the Babe Magnet.
Yeah, the Babe Magnet. But you saw you saw no way that you weren't going to sell enough shoes to build a great company.
Well, in all honesty, it's gotten to be a lot bigger than I ever imagined. But yeah. No, I thought we could succeed, and I thought I'd had in that class I'd seen a lot of companies start from very meager beginnings and become really good companies, and that's what I believed we would do.
But you had mortgage, you had a mortgage on your house, your wife, you had a 3-year-old kid, you had all this stuff that might make you careful, but you weren't careful.
I wasn't careful. I had a dream.
That's it, a dream.
Yeah, you bet. I was going there if I could.
With all this money, of which you're giving away, and really wonderful, you gave the largest donation to Stanford yet, I think $400 million. You've given a bunch to Oregon. Is it Oregon, Oregon State?
University of Oregon.
University of Oregon.
They don't like it. I know. Stuff over there.
I know. It's like Michigan and Michigan State. You know, you don't know the difference and don't tell. But at the same time, do you still have dreams?
Oh, sure.
With all the money, with all the fame, with all the success, with all the... You know.
Yeah, no, I think you never want to give up those, and I hope I never give up those. I mean, I still have great aspirations for the company itself. That's my real novel, my real painting, and I will step down sometime in this year. But I'm not going away. I'm going to keep my office there, and I'm going to keep harassing.
So why are
Mark
you stepping
Harper.
down? Because you think?
I think that it's a lot better to step down as a chairman or an officer of a company 2 years too early than it is 2 years too late. And so I want the company to be ready for any kind of transition. But I'll be around, and so I still have high hopes for that, and I'll have a lot of other projects.
You'll still be a kind of global ambassador for Nike.
I'll still put my hand in where needed.
And whose decision was it for the swoosh?
Well, as it's described in the book, we had to come up with something in a hell of a hurry.
Yeah. Can you have some term like diamond something?
Diamond, I don't remember.
Diamond.
It was.
What was your thoughts for the company? What its company should be named?
Oh no, that we had two things we had to do. We made a transition from Tiger to what became Nike. We had to come up with a brand name, and we had to come up with a logo for the side of the shoe.
Right.
And so we said we don't have any time to do any research on what's a good brand name. We just have to pick a name, and we'll make it mean something. And so we had a hat and went around to all 45 employees, and everybody put a name in. And my name was Dimension 6, which I was fortunately enough. I was not creative enough to pick a good name, but I was smart enough not to pick my own name.
Yeah. And somebody put Nike in.
And then Jeff Johnson, actually, the night after everybody put their name in, we didn't have a name we liked, and Jeff Johnson called, and he'd put a name in. He says, I got a better idea. He says, Nike. And it wasn't an
Did everybody instantly say yes?
No, especially me. It was not a eureka moment, but I says, boy, there's a really lot of bad names in there. I guess this is the best we can do.
The best of the bad.
Yeah.
What's been the hardest part of it, Phil?
Oh, I think, we had a lot of difficult moments. I mean, I suppose there's several down moments in the history's journey, but
like?
The one that comes to mind the most is when I got kicked out of the second bank, and they called me that night after telling me I no longer had a bank. They said, you're so far overdrafted, we've also had to notify the FBI. They told me that on Friday at 5 o'clock, and I said, well, I wonder what's going to happen on Monday.
And what happened?
Well, the FBI never did anything, and the bank was repaid, instantly, and we got bailed out by a Japanese trading company called Nishu Iwai, which is not a well-known company in the United States, but it was the 6th largest company in Japan, and they were wonderful with us and really helped us through those early years.
Do you feel an affinity with Japan?
Totally. The company started there. The financing came from there. I've always liked going there. I like the people. I like the food. I like the scenery. Totally.
There have also been enormous advantages you've had in terms of timing. I mean, you came in when the running, your timing was exquisite.
Yes. There's no planning in that.
Yeah, you had experienced it too. I mean, you were a runner.
Yeah. No, but yes, you're exactly right, that right after we came in, right after we got into business selling running shoes, well, the running boom hit.
Yeah.
And we knew fitness and activity, physical activity would grow as far as usage, but we never had any idea the running boom was right around the corner, and that was a big help.
And then there was a college player from North Carolina.
So that came just shortly thereafter, in 1984. Of course, I'll never forget it.
Well,
and
tell me about it.
Well, obviously, we were selling a lot of basketball shoes, but we didn't have really a kind of a marquee name. We had some good players, but we didn't have the great player. And he was an NCAA Player of the Year and had a really dynamic game. And so we focused in on signing him for an endorsement agreement. And he had never worn Nike shoes. We were fairly new, so we had to sell them on ourselves. So we had Michael and his agent and his parents come out, and we spent 3 days romancing him as hard as we could and said we'd build a special shoe for him. And at the end of the day, we made the sale.
Was that Air Jordan?
And that became Air Jordan, which took us to another level.
In terms of public and international brand
Absolutely,
name.
and consumer identification and everything. That we got helped a lot because the first Air Jordans, which we did for him, we wanted people to notice them, so we made them really dramatic colors with black and red, very flashy. And we weren't an official shoe of the NBA, so David Stern banned our shoes.
The commissioner of the NBA.
The commissioner of the NBA, which is the biggest favor anybody could ever do us, because then we ran an ad that says banned in the NBA when the kids bought them more than ever.
And they still sell.
Still sell. It sells more now than when he was playing.
How do you explain that?
Well, what happened is that it was such a successful endorsement that it ultimately became a brand. And so you have kids now that have never seen Michael Jordan play, don't really even know who he is, but just
they know what Air Jordan is.
They know what Air Jordan is.
And what do they expect from Air Jordan?
Well, top of the line, that's for sure. That obviously when he was playing, he was the best player in the world, and we wanted to make the best products and have the best advertising, and then it's carried over into a brand.
Is it a tough negotiation when you sign these guys? I mean, they're in the driver's seat, aren't they?
Some are, some aren't.
Well, Michael Jordan is.
But certainly.
Tiger Woods is.
Yes.
Roger Federer is.
But see, those guys, in some cases, it was a difficult and expensive negotiation, I guess, a better way. But that after that things get going well, why renewal is much easier than the original. Yeah. Renewals are easy. The original negotiation can be difficult.
How much do you pay college coaches to?
Oh, it varies.
What's the best deal? I mean, what's the most expensive deal you have with a college coach?
Oh, I wouldn't explain what it is, but a good basketball coach will make $8
or $10 million.
Oh no, a year?
Yeah.
Oh, not for us. No, a college basketball coach? Yeah. No way. There's no college basketball coach on our payroll that's paid $1 million.
Is that right? A million.
Yeah.
A million.
Not $1 million. No, it's less than $1 million.
What do they get for that? I mean, what do they give you for that if you pay them?
The identification of them and their team.
But do their team therefore wear all Nike shoes?
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
You pay them less than, and they make the decision.
Right. Usually. Sometimes it's an all athletic department deal with the university that they do it for all the sports: football, basketball, baseball, track. But in some cases, it's basketball only.
You worry that some of the top stars in the golf, for example, Jordan Spieth, is not at Nike?
We'd rather have him than not have him. But we've never ever had everybody, or all the good ones in any sport. So we're used to that.
Used to that?
Mm-hmm. No, I was the one.
You're not used to that.
Well, no, but as I explained in the book, I was the one who said, "Well, Magic Johnson will never make it in the NBA because he's a player without a position." How good was that?
Not very good. And also a guy who had a magnetic personality.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He's
Still does.
But, we own Converse now, but we didn't when they signed Magic Johnson. But they did a terrible job of promoting it.
Yeah. Converse.
He could have been. He could have been Michael Jordan.
In terms of endorsement.
Yeah.
And he wasn't because.
Well, I just think that his sneaker endorsement never promoted him properly.
I bet he knows that.
Can you remember a Converse ad for Magic Johnson?
No, but I tell you what. I mean, the interesting thing about Magic, first of all, is he's a great entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
I mean, and so is Michael in a different way. But Magic has got businesses all over the country.
Right.
You could have made a real difference in his life.
Yes, I believe that's true. I will agree with you on that one.
You have said it's not that I do. It's not that I have to win, it's that I have not to lose.
Yeah, I hate to lose. It's not about winning so much.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's just an emotion. I take it personally. I take losses personally.
And how do they affect you?
Not well.
No, I mean, do you go into depression? Do you can you eat for 2 days? Or you?
No, I don't.
What?
I don't do that.
You
but
just sulk around?
It depends. I've lost enough, so I'm better at it now. But as I explained in the book, when Frank Shorter didn't wear the shoes at the Olympic Games, I turned all the lights off in my den for 7 hours and didn't come out. And then I was over it.
You turned the lights off.
Yeah, it was just grim.
What did you do? Just sit there?
I just sat there.
What opportunities have you missed?
Oh, I think we didn't get into that too much, but basically we didn't get the aerobics boom. We missed it.
How could you miss it?
Well, we were still a fairly young company, and part of the thing is that came in a hurry. And then Reebok beat us to that, and they came out with a shoe which befuddled us a little bit, if you will, for lack of a better word, that their shoe tore apart early. And so you'd ask a woman, your shoes fell apart, and the aerobic exercise, what do you do about that? She says, go out and buy a new pair of them. And they were so soft that they liked it, but we didn't like shoes that fall apart, so it was contrary to what our whole mission was. And but we finally worked around with leather manufacturers and got something that was a soft leather that didn't fall apart.
Did you miss something leaving an opening for Under Armour?
Oh, I don't know. As you ask that question, I can't think what comes to mind. We're always going to have a competitor that there's, so I can't say what we missed that
gave them an opportunity.
But they're a good competitor.
Yeah. Japan. I mean, fascinated with Jan. You're also fascinated with how they began to compete with Germany in terms of cameras. In terms of athletic shoes, in terms of cars. What was it about that culture that you learned?
Well, it's there again in 25 words or less. It's quite a unique culture. That the first time I went there, the only foreign country I'd been in before I went there was Canada, so it was an eye opener. And as I say, within a couple of days, that I began to like it a lot. But it is a unique culture that I know that at Nisho Iwai that they had a manager in the Portland office that got sick, and he was in his 60s, and he didn't want the home office in Tokyo to know about it because he thought he'd get called home and his income would be reduced. So he asked everybody in the office to hide the fact that he wasn't coming in to the superiors. So we knew it and they knew it, but Tokyo never knew it. It was just we will band together to win this battle, and that's a big part of the culture and some of the reasons why they've succeeded, I think, in business, but they've also kind of failed because their economy has kind of failed because basically they've had some bad governments.
Anything in terms of the life you have lived that you have missed? I mean, you look back and with all the success and say, I wish I spent more time doing this.
Well, I think that every time, yeah, sure, you wish you'd spent more time with your family and your kids.
No,
every success, I would bet you would say that.
Yeah,
well, as I said, they never asked the unsuccessful businessman that question.
No, that's true.
But no.
On the other hand, they say that nobody ever dies saying, I wish I spent more time at the office.
That's absolutely true. No, but as far as my journey, I wouldn't trade places with anybody. There isn't anything major that I regret at all.
See, here's what surprised me about this. We talked about it earlier. You were not that sort of immersed in advertising and marketing.
Right.
I would have thought if someone had said to me, what is Phil's genius. I would have said he understood imaging, marketing, identity of brand, that kind of thing. I would have thought that was right down your, sweet spot. And
Yeah.
it's not.
Well,
Yours is
particularly advertising.
vision. Yours is vision.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. But it's interesting on the advertising part that when I met Dan Wyden in 1978, the first words were, "I hate advertising," and he says, "Oh, this is going to be interesting," and it has been. It's been a wonderful ride, and it's interesting because.
Well, why did you hate it?
Well, because when you see the advertisement as does Mickey Mantle really smoke Lucky Strike cigarettes? I mean, there were so many false, what I would call fraudulent ads. And that really helped in the relationship with Wyden and Kennedy to get what we considered real ads that really reflected who the athlete was or who Nike was. And when we won an award at the Cannes Advertising Festival, Dan and I stood on the stage and I reminded everybody about the first time I said I hate advertising. And I said, I love advertising. And Dan Wyden says, well, I hate advertising. And we're meaning the same thing. You hate traditional advertising.
Exactly. Criticisms. One is that you feel strongly about this, and you're right about this, is that the conditions in the factories were not as good as they could have been. You argue they were a lot better than when we got there, and that's your essential argument, but were they not as good as they should have been, and should you have paid more attention and done more?
Well, in retrospect, yes, that we made some mistakes early on, and particularly we made mistakes responding to the criticism. That it was the CEO didn't do a very good job of directing that, and that CEO happened to be me.
How would you describe your attitude to that? Was it petulant? Was it, how dare you?
A little bit, in the sense that I was angered that they were criticizing our factories. The criticism really was more an industry-wide criticism, but we just took the brunt of it. And the shoe industry, our shoe factories were our shoe factories were as good as any in the industry. The industry was just kind of behind the times. And we needed to take a leadership role in correcting that, which I believe we have and have become the gold standard. But they weren't at the time, and then the response should have been that way, but it wasn't. It was a little bit teenagey.
Is it still a fact of life that you manufacture all the shoes overseas because the wages are simply different, and therefore you can?
Well,
why can't you manufacture shoes in America?
That day will come.
Interesting.
That it's a very labor-intensive business, and that shoe manufacturing and apparel manufacturing and toy manufacturing are all part of what a lot of people call a needle trade, and that's what companies beginning in their industrialization begin to do. And so the low labor countries have an advantage of that, and those industries aren't really the stuff of mighty industrial nations. It's more, cars and airplanes and computers and those types of things. So, but I do think the day is not far off when it will be much more automated, and then some of that manufacturing will come back.
Robotics and everything.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, we're looking down a world of technology. Almost every company is going to have to be a technology company.
Yeah. No, that's very well put. That's what's on the horizon.
What else is it? What else do you see in terms of the dynamics of change affecting your company?
Well, I think, obviously the only constant is change, and so it will always change. But I think I see nothing but good things. More and more people will be active, and so I think that's good.
That's right. And one of the things that people expect is that there will be a premium on leisure time with more and more technology and automation and robotics, and people are going to find themselves with more free time. And how they're going to spend that time, and how is it going to become interesting for them?
Well, yeah, and I think that for our business, obviously, that more and more people will become more active. I think basically physical fitness is absolutely running, in one word, is as important as eating and sleeping, and you see that now. Running in Central Park, but you'll see more and more of that, I think.
Are you doing that?
I ran up till I'm such a slow runner. It's now a walk, but I walk regularly.
You figure you got that.
Yeah, it keeps me fit. That's right.
There's also this about you. There's this great story in which you and maybe Bill, I can't remember, went to a theater to see that movie that Morgan Freeman and Jack Nicholson made about Bucket List.
Bucket List, yeah.
And you walk out of the theater,
right,
and you know that you're a changed man in terms of how you're going to think about the future.
Yes, there was some of that in there, but it was compounded by the fact as I walk out of the movie theater into the lobby, there's Warren Buffett and Bill Gates who have all come to see the same movie.
Yeah, but you thought at the time, you said yourself, well, clearly they don't have a bucket list because they've done everything.
Right, that's right. But it did get me thinking. That's the point of the thing, and the combination of those two things. I just thought out what I wanted to do, and ultimately it led to a book.
Yeah. Well, it led to a book, but also philanthropy.
And philanthropy.
$400 million to stand, the largest donator to, and they've had some very wealthy people out there. I'm sure you will be out, there'll be somebody coming along with all the money those tech guys are making that, and that'll make you proud because it's all for the same reason.
Right.
Lot to Oregon. Are you going to give it all away?
Not all of it, but way more than half. But it'll be, some of it will be in a foundation after my death.
That means... are you on the list that Warren and Bill said?
I won't sign it. I'd have to reduce my contributions if I did half. If I said I'd do half.
So you won't sign it?
I'm not signing it.
And what did they say to you to sell you on the idea when you say I'm not signing it?
I just want to do it my way, and that's that's I suppose part of my personality.
Most people they want to do it their way.
Yeah.
It's not so much that they want to hold on to it.
Right, that's right.
People like you don't want to hold on to it, but you want to decide, but they don't force you to decide how you're going to give it away.
No.
They're just asking you to give away more than half of it. And it's a pledge. It's a giving pledge.
I understand.
It's a pledge.
I understand.
I can't change your mind here.
I'm going to give it away, but I'm not signing the pledge.
So there's something about your independence there.
I think so.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. You'd be a good shrink.
I do it every night.
Yeah, I guess you do. I guess you are.
But most of it is to medical stuff, and then
there's
education.
Education and medical.
Yeah. On your bucket list, what remains?
Oh, I don't know. As I say, I still have high hopes for Nike, and I'm active at Stanford and the University of Oregon, and that my son is very active in an animated movie studio, and so all of those things are on the list.
The book is called Shoe Dog, a memoir about the creator of Nike, Phil Knight. Thank you. It's a pleasure to see you again.
It's really a great pleasure. Look forward to seeing you in 22 years. Thank you.
Thank you.